taking Cuba. I mean, whether I free it, take it, I think I could do anything I want with it.
On March 16th, 2026, the lights went out in Cuba, and they didn't come back on for days. Hospitals suspended operations, schools closed, water pumps stopped running because they run on diesel, and people raced to cook whatever food they had left before it spoiled in the heat. It wasn't an accident. It was the result of a deliberate, methodical campaign by the United States to strangle Cuba's economy until something breaks. The question is, what breaks first, the regime or the people? To understand what's happening in Cuba right now, you have to go back to 1959. When Fidel Castro overthrew the U.S.-backed dictator Batista and took power in Havana, Washington initially recognized the new government. They even shook hands.
Welcome once again to Meet the Press. Our guest is the Prime Minister of Cuba, Dr. Fidel Castro. His liberation of the island from President Batista has been described as a legend of daring and determination.
But within a year, Castro nationalized every American-owned business on the island, with no compensation. Washington was furious. The response was swift. In 1961, President Kennedy sent 1,400 CIA-trained Cuban exiles to invade at the Bay of Pigs and overthrow Castro. It was a catastrophe. Cuban forces defeated them within 3 days. The humiliation was total. Then, in 1962, came the moment that nearly ended the world. The Cuban Missile Crisis, when the Soviet Union placed nuclear warheads on the island, 90 miles from Florida. For 13 days, the U.S. and USSR stood at the edge of nuclear war over Cuba. The missiles were removed, but the war didn't end. It just changed shape. America imposed a full trade embargo in 1962, one that has now lasted over 60 years, making it the longest economic embargo in modern history. Cuba estimates it has cost the island $130 billion in lost trade. The UN has voted to condemn it almost every single year since 1992, and every single year, the United States votes no. But here's what's crucial to understand. Through all of that, Cuba survived. And it survived because of one thing: outside lifelines. First, the Soviet Union subsidized Cuba for 3 decades, sending oil, food, and billions in aid. When the USSR collapsed in 1991, Cuba's economy shrank by 35% almost overnight. They called it the Special Period. Then, Hugo Chavez came along in Venezuela, and the lifeline was reattached. Venezuela pumped cheap oil to Cuba, up to 100,000 barrels a day at its peak, and Cuba sent tens of thousands of doctors and military advisors in return. It was a lifeline disguised as friendship. And then, in January 2026, the U.S. captured Nicolas Maduro.